Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And man, I mean, you might as well call this the go-home show before NXT TakeOver Respect, which is next week. And it seems like every time NXT is a go-home show, they hit it more or less out of the park. And at worst, they usually at least get you hyped up for the big live special. This NXT managed to be both a great episode on its own and instill the hype for TakeOver Respect next week. There were some quality matches on this show tonight, and the way they built to certain matches, I cannot wait for TakeOver next week. It is going to be phenomenal. It is going to be exceptional, and the women were representing tonight. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
I only have one question for you, John.
That is?
Are you ready for NXT TakeOver PWG style?
Hell yes.
Because just tonight we had Samoa Joe, Johnny Gargano, Apollo Cruz, and Tommaso Ciampa all on the same show.
Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, I loved it. I love that they got showcased, especially Gargano and Champa, and especially Champa. If we were
yes. We'll get to that when we actually get to that segment, but Ciampa tonight looked better than he has by miles so far in NXT.
Completely agree with you. In fact, it's funny, partner, because I was looking at this NXT, and even though I'm a fan of all the same people, I actually wanted to give the subtitle of this NXT is Ashton, because I know a lot of people that you're huge fans of got some nice shine tonight. So, yeah, it was really cool to see, man.
Well, I mean, if you're ready to start things off with our first segment, I am.
All right, let's do it. Heat of the night. I've got 0 heats tonight. If I had to have a nitpick, to be honest, it would be on the network's end, because I did have a few hiccups tonight. I haven't experienced hiccups that bad in a long time. But as far as the show itself, I got no complaints. It was fantastic from beginning to end. So
yeah, it's cold as ice on my end, brother. I had a couple hiccups as well, but all I had to do was, the little slider bar that you get on the network that you can rewind and fast forward and pause and stuff?
Yeah.
I just used my mouse to click a little tiny bit before the end of the live stream, and it went back like 15 seconds, but then I didn't have any hiccups for the rest of the show, because I was, rather than getting the actual live feed, I was getting a 15-second delay.
Interesting. I'll have to remember that, because I just kept pressing the live button just to kind of take me to the most present time so I wouldn't keep lagging behind. And then I just refreshed, and then I seemed good for the rest of the night. But yeah, this show as a whole, no complaints from me, no complaints from you, so let us get right on through to our NXT review. And Ashton, we have a very surprising open, at least to me in terms of card structure. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic tournament matchup is the opener of this show.
Well, if you want to be technical, I'm kind of surprised you didn't have any kind of hints of the night, because we opened things up with Kyle Edwards recapping the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and you seem to be unable to tolerate his face.
Yeah, I really loathe his face. I'd actually prefer to hang out with BJ Whitmer's face before Kyle
Oh
Edwards.
My God!
Just deal with it. So I didn't, that's my bad, because, I did know that happened, but I think I was coming on the network right as his program was ending, so I didn't really count that as part of the show. But like you said, if you wanted to be technical about it, that was the open. But then our actual open.
BJ Whitmer, John, really?
You're still stuck on that? I told you to deal with it like 5 seconds ago.
But Carl Edwards is actually a cool dude.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Kyle Edwards is played by Arda Ocal, right?
Yeah, and you've told me all about that. It still doesn't mean that I don't want to punch his face and stuff him in a locker.
Oh, man. I wish you would have listened to Aftermath back when he was hosting it.
I'm sure it would have been nice, right after I gave him a swirly and took his lunch money. But, yeah, as far as actual NXT goes, we do get the tournament as our opening matchup.
Enzo and Cass versus Balor and Joe.
That's right. And they do cut a little bit of a promo here. Pretty much the same old stuff from Enzo, but then Cass says, anybody that does not give all of themselves in this ring or give all of their heart for Dusty Rhodes, there's only one word to describe you, and then he did the whole soft thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the promo tonight. I like how I would have liked to have seen them bring a little bit more of the verbal fire to Balor and Joe, because that's just what I've come to expect from them. But I guess it just shows you how high up Balor and Joe are that Enzo and Cass didn't even bother trying knocking them down a peg. But then Joe came out. Then Balor came out in his jacket and with a Titantron that says Balor Club.
I know, dude. Oh my god. If he ends up being the one that turns on Joe, it's going to be such an amazing swerve. And especially if the Young Bucks get involved. Oh my god.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're all expecting Joe to do the turn because, I mean, well, look at him. You
Right.
know, like.
And he's been the one that's been kind of teasing at taking Balor's title with like the kind of overemphasis on the title during their promos and backstage segments.
Right. But Balor might actually become paranoid.
Yeah, I gotta get
Joe
you before you can get me.
Exactly. So they might do a whole paranoid angle. To be honest, I always wanted Balor's turn to be kind of what you constructed with the whole demon taking over, but this is a nice consolation prize, especially if we get Young Bucks kind of watching Balor's back and stuff.
Dude, and that's my thing too. I don't know if it was just a completely unsubstantiated rumor or if it was like a Meltzer thing and he actually heard something. I heard a rumor that at one of these takeover shows, which, I mean, obviously it's not going to be next week, so I'm assuming they're talking about the UK one, WWE wants to try and get a Young Bucks versus Usos match.
Right. We've been talking about that. Yeah, I would think that maybe it would be for the Blackpool crowd, which would be great because it's sold out like hotcakes. I mean, It is going to be packed in there. But yeah, if Balor's the one to do the turn with this whole look and everything, it'd be an interesting take on the story, making Joe like this merciless babyface like he's already been, but just continuing down that path with now Balor in his sights. But that is purely conjecture. The reality is that this is a pretty fun tag team match.
You know what, though, John? I mean, it was fun in the sense that we got to see, like, Cass get some of his sort of signature stuff in on Joe. But other than that, this really was all Joe and Balor.
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, their dominance, guys, is really punctuated by one sequence, and that's after Enzo and Cass hit their tag team finisher. And Joe just doesn't kick out. No, he rolls through and he has Enzo, like, up in that fall-away slam position, takes him over to his corner, tags in Balor with the shotgun dropkick, taking out Big Cass, and then muscle buster to Enzo, and then the coup de grace, and they win. It was such a dominant and decisive finish, dude. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, exactly. And now we find out that Joe and Balor are going to be facing Dawson and Dash Wilder next week on the live special.
That's going to be such a good match, I think.
The mechanics, baby.
Dude.
I know that NXT is going to be tempted to have another match like what we just saw tonight where, like, sure, Dawson and Wilder get a little bit of their signature stuff in, but it's mostly just like a really one-sided match. I want that to be a competitive match so bad.
You and me both. I mean, look, dude, I remember how long ago was it that you first even told me about the mechanics being a thing?
Yeah.
And we talked about what they were tweeting and everything. And I have waited for this day to come for so long. Like, if they were to go have like a 15-minute affair with Balor and Joe, like, it would be amazing. Like, it's one thing, fine, you're doing this tournament to honor Dusty. Let's make the matches competitive. I feel like the best match in this tournament for me thus far still has been, oddly enough, Jordan and Gable versus Neville and Crow. I really enjoyed that bout. Yeah. So I'm looking for something to top it, and if anything can, it's definitely the mechanics versus Balor and Joe, because you were just asking
John,
for
I
that.
can't help but feel like we wouldn't be saying that still if Blake and Murphy had lasted a little longer.
Yeah, I think you got a point there. I mean, Blake and Murphy are so good in ring that if they were able to hang on a little bit longer, we might be singing a different tune. Hell, I could say the same to a point about the Vaudevillains, but at least they lost the mechanics, who are also a very competent team. But, the mechanics are in this spot. Don't make them look like punks, especially not on their first live special. Like, this is really huge for them.
Definitely.
Don't screw the pooch on this one, guys. I'm not asking for them to go over, even though that would be an interesting upset.
I think that there's a very distinct possibility that they go over, given that we're probably going to get a Samoa Joe or Finn Balor turn on the other on this show.
See, and I agree with you about the turn action, but I think it's going to happen when it matters most for them to be
in the
a
finals,
feud.
right? I mean,
And
that makes sense too, but I don't know. I feel like there is a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility that the Mechanics go on to win the tournament.
Well, I mean, how great would it be, Ashton, if Balor and Joe, they lose the semis, and then you have these two fresh teams, like, say, hypothetically, the Mechanics, and then Jordan and Gable in the finals.
Right.
You know, and you really put the emphasis on these guys.
You know what,
really,
though? Now that I think about it, you're probably right, because I don't think the Mechanics need to be in the finals because they already beat the Vaudevillains.
That's true. They're going to
So they
move
pretty
on,
much already
yeah.
have a title shot under their belt.
Yeah, and I hope they cash in on that, and I hope somebody brings that up. And by somebody, I mean somebody that actually matters that can make these matches, because it only makes sense that the Vaudevillains owe the Mechanics a shot, and Balor and Joe have just been running through everybody that, you know, much like another team feels about their chances, the only thing that could really stop Balor and Joe seemingly at this point is themselves.
Right.
So, we'll see.
Awesome. Okay, so up next we had a promo from Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. And they tell us basically that even though they didn't necessarily reach the expectations that they had for themselves, they do feel like they exceeded pretty much everyone else's expectations. But they aren't here to dwell on the past. They want to look forward. And Gargano has a match with Apollo Crews tonight.
Yes. And they talk about how they've traveled the world with him, how, you know, they're actually friends with him. At this point, Tyler Breeze interjects, "Oh, a friend of Apollo Crews? I guess any friend of him is an enemy of mine. And seeing as how you two cost me my chance at the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Tommaso, looks like I'll be your opponent tonight." And then Gargano and Ciampa, they kind of laugh themselves because they know that Breeze has no idea what's coming to him. And so, yeah, good segment, laid the groundwork for the rest of the show. And I'm loving that these guys are still sticking around and getting their shine on in NXT.
I will say I'm really glad that they have Tyler Breeze now has moved past the whole "don't touch my face" gimmick, because that gimmick just would not have worked in his match with Ciampa tonight.
Oh, no. Not at all, my friend. Not at all. And
he would have been rolling out of the ring and making the match just feel really disjointed every, 10 seconds.
Exactly. Whereas here they had a nice, seamless matchup, which we'll get to later. Right. But, yeah, that's the beauty of character evolution, man. It affects everything. So this is a good segment.
All right. So now we can move on. Up next we had an Asuka vignette. They actually showed, it's basically the same vignette that we've seen so far with her in the mask and then taking the mask off, but then they actually showed footage of her in Japan beating the shit out of people.
I love it. I love it. Every time I see Asuka now, I think of our boy Anthony, because I know he is so excited now probably for TakeOver Respect, knowing that Dana Brooke's going to be the first victim. Unbelievable. And yeah, this is great footage. I can't wait to see her debut, dude, because much like other people, I've only seen footage of her. I've never seen her compete in a bell-to-bell matchup. So this is going to be new for me, and I just can't wait.
All right, so then we get our second match of the night, Johnny Gargano versus Apollo Crews.
What did you think of this, Ashton?
I just have on my notes here that it was a really solid match. I don't want to go over the top praising it, but I enjoyed it. I liked that Gargano, it seemed like, gave Cruz the biggest challenge of his NXT career so far. And Apollo ended up winning with his kind of deadly combination that he does with the jumping clothesline, gorilla press drop, and then moonsault.
Yeah, I will say this. It was a good matchup. You know, I would say it wasn't the better of the two between Gargano's matchup and Ciampa's matchup, but again,
oh my God, no. Ciampa Breeze was match of the night by a billion miles.
Yeah, and they were night and day. But I will say this, what I've noticed with Cruz's booking, and this is so freaking refreshing for a guy that looks like he does, it seems like each match for him is getting progressively harder.
Yeah.
And I like that, because that's going to at least be a point of interest for me at TakeOver Respect when he faces Tyler Breeze. You know, because that'll tell me that by definition then, Tyler Breeze will become Cruz's toughest test to date. And anybody that has Cruz's gimmick, or I know just kind of the happy to be here, that Sami Zayn kind of vibe, you want to ascend through the ranks. And yeah, I feel like he struggled a little bit with Crow, and Crow got more aggressive. He struggled more so with Gargano here because of the worldly experience. And now Breeze is going to be the really tough test because he's just that established NXT talent. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the ascension of Apollo Crews. I think it's being very well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this match. It was a solid match, but nothing really to write home about, I would say.
I would agree with that assessment wholeheartedly. Let's move on.
Up next, we had William Regal in his office with Dana Brooke and Emma, and he really just wanted them to be there so that the WWE or NXT universe could see the reaction when this announcement was made. Regal announces that we're going to get Dana Brooke versus Asuka for next week's live special.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be amazing. But Dana immediately is just like, am I supposed to be scared?
And then he doesn't do the cheesy like, oh yes, or oh no, like he does one better. And he says, well, you decide, I'm going to show you this footage of how Asuka's been training. And I got to give credit to Dana Brooke and Emma here between, when their emotion in the contract signing, how they emoted then when they saw Asuka smile, to their emoting here when they're seeing the footage, because Dana's face progressively becomes more concerned as the footage plays.
Yep.
And I really like that. Like, I know we can take any opportunity to criticize Dana and this and that, but she did her part here. She's the heel that realizes, oh man, I've really stepped in it this time. What am I going to do? And the moment she looks to Emma's just like, hey, I have a budding cooking channel. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So, and then she just kind of leaves her to her own
She
device.
literally said, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and just patted her on the shoulder and she left. And then Dana was just kind of standing there to pout, like in Regal's office, not saying anything. And yeah, she realizes she's really stepped in it. And I can't wait to see her get the crap beat out of her in NXT TakeOver Respect. This is going to be amazing.
You keep saying it. I feel like that's a euphemism for something else.
Well, my point is, Asuka's going to kick Dana Brooke's head in, and that's just fantastic.
Well, and my point is, I think what you really wanted to say was that she stepped in shit.
Well, yeah, but everybody knows what I meant, and she knows that she's done for. Come NXT TakeOver Respect.
Exactly, yeah. Asuka is going to tear her limb from limb, and it's going to be amazing.
You know it, man. You know it.
All right, up next, we got a Nia Jax vignette. I'm done talking about this until we get more.
Agreed. Let's move on.
Then we got a little preview of the Asuka video that Regal showed Dana, and that was cool to see. But then we transition right into our third match of the night, Dana Brooke and Emma versus Billie Kay and Peyton Royce.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match. This is a fun match. Good back and forth. I liked how Billie and Peyton worked together. That was very cool. And I'm glad to see that they're getting more time, obviously, because sooner or later they are going to get their chance to shine in the women's division. They're going to get their own storylines and things like that and their own character progression, and they've certainly shown that they were worthy of it. Billie Kay was great, trying to make the hot tag and really being that baby face that was just resilient and wouldn't quit. And then Peyton Royce, her hot tag was fun. I love the kicks that she does, like the axe kicks and everything. And like the kick where she does it like once to the gut and then she'll twirl around and then get one to the back. So her offense is a lot of fun. But unfortunately, despite how good those two were, they weren't good enough to overcome Emma and Dana Brooke, Ashton.
Yeah, I think that this worked out really well. It really did protect everyone, which is strange because they haven't really been going out of their way to protect Billie Kay or Peyton Royce in their recent matches. So I like that they kind of took that extra step to be like, okay, now these girls have proven that they're pretty darn good. The crowd is starting to like them. We need to at least do something to protect them. And they did, because we got Emma grabs Peyton Royce's foot to trip her up, and it allows Dana Brooke to hit her finisher, which I don't think we even have a name for yet, to pin Peyton Royce for the win.
Yeah, I really like that trip up by Emma, because it gets them the heat as the heels. And to your point, it protects the baby faces. Everybody goes home happy. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce get more exposure. What more can you ask for? This is a fun matchup. And again, Dana Brooke, just nothing but sands in an hourglass now until she has to face Asuka next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome. So now we get another promo, this time a backstage promo from Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. And they say something about how it's unlikely that Dash and Dawson are going to beat Joe and Balor, and that Joe and Balor are going to need to overcome them. Or no, actually what it was Rhyno and Corbin are going to need to overcome them. And then they brought up that Dawson and Wilder probably weren't going to win, and that Joe and Balor weren't going to beat them either.
Yeah, and then it gets into this whole thing between the Mechanics and Jordan and Gable. I'm really hoping that Jordan and Gable go to the finals, but I'm going to be honest with you, bro. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking it might just be Corbin and Rhyno versus that one. Oh, yeah. And that worries me, too.
I don't think so. I honestly think that there is a distinct possibility that Gable and Jordan might literally just kind of fall backwards into winning the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, because I think that Corbin and Rhyno might self-destruct in their match, and then Joe and Balor might self-destruct in their match, and I think that would do a really good thing, because it would also give Jordan and Gable a lot of heat for winning the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic without really winning it.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts. You know I'm rooting for Jordan and Gable. It's just I'm becoming.
No, I know you're rooting for them, but I think that it makes the most sense for Corbin and Rhyno to self-destruct too, because they've been showing a lot of animosity towards each other.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to have two teams that don't even like each other in the main event of this thing.
No, it wouldn't, because then it would just be a game of, okay, well, who's going to implode first?
Right.
So, yeah, I hope you're right. Just, yeah, it did kind of enter my mind. I'm like, I hope not. Honestly, I think it would be really cool if this innocent bickering that, happened between the Mechanics and Jordan and Gable actually turned into the finals and they settle it in the ring. That would be ideal for me. I'd love to see these two guys tearing it up in the finals of this tournament and really getting to really establish themselves in the division, no questions asked. That's my ideal scenario, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is a fun segment. I love Jordan and Gable, especially Gable. He has a direct line to my funny bone. Just this guy is gold. The more I get to see of him, the better. Enough said.
All right. Well, I think that being said, let's talk about our main event match of the night. Tommaso Ciampa versus Tyler Breeze.
This was so good.
Oh my god, I loved this match. This was one of the, I would say this was a top 5 match for Tyler Breeze in his career.
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
I would put this up there with the Breeze Zayn matches and the Breeze Neville matches, that kind of stuff.
Well, I loved how competitive they made it.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of feel bad for Gargano, because, I like Apollo Crews, but he's like the new kid on the block right now. He's the new project. So, of course, they're going to give him an air of dominance. Tyler Breeze, though, because he's already attained that credibility, he can afford to give a lot back. He can afford to, I know this is an odd phrase here, but be very compassionate in the ring and, make the other guy look really good. And that's why I think Breeze is the perfect opponent for Ciampa here, because the way he sells and everything else, and the way he wrestles matches, of course you're going to come out looking like $1 million. And Ciampa, it's a sign of a great match when, even though that the established veteran in Breeze is going to win, there's no question about it, they still create that believability that Ciampa might pull off the upset. That's what made this match so masterful to me, because there were a few moments in this match where I was like, no way is Ciampa going to do it. So I loved it, dude.
Absolutely. I personally think that this was the right choice, because Gargano has gotten a lot more credit for the tag matches than Ciampa. So, if you had to pick between the two of them who you're going to put against the guy that you're going to have a competitive match with, to me it makes more sense that it would be Ciampa, because he needed the sort of shine that he would get from this match.
Yeah, I agree.
And he needed it a lot more than Gargano needed it, because the crowd already loves Gargano.
Right. They were even chanting Johnny Wrestling before Apollo Crews made his entrance. They're into him. I think they needed a chance to get into Ciampa. And
I think this match gave them that chance.
Exactly. Completely agree with you. He had some great highlights here. I think from the Project Ciampa tease, from anybody that does know his indie work.
Oh, dude, I was losing it. I wanted to see him hit it so bad.
If they play that up right and he sticks around long enough, that could become the new Hideo Itami GTS kind of deal. Let's see here. The whole striking sequence he hit on Breeze that ended with that lariat. That was so
dude, the knee that he hit on Breeze in the corner.
Yeah. Like I said,
the flatliner, the rope hung flatliner.
Yeah, the
it's one
rope
of my
hung
favorite
flatliner.
moves that Ciampa does.
Yeah, like, I'm telling you, Breeze was very giving in this match because his character can afford to be without any love. Because the character, again, is like Dolph Ziggler if he was even more self-absorbed, you know, if like him and Zoolander had a fusion or something.
I
Because he sells
I
ridiculous.
actually had my computer kind of angled so that my mom could see it tonight, and she told me that Breeze to her is like a hybrid of Ziggler and John Morrison.
Yeah, and people were saying that very early on in Breeze's career too. I can still remember his debut, and I saw comments on YouTube. Oh, it's like if Morrison and who else did you say? And Ziggler if they had a fusion, yeah. And I think they even added like a pinch of Dash and Cody Rhodes in there too. And I'm like, yeah, like
To me, I'm going to make it really simple. To me, Tyler Breeze is what would happen if 1996 Shawn Michaels was the exact same character but contemporary in 2015.
There you go. I think that really hits the nail on the head.
Wasn't Shawn Michaels on like the cover of Playgirl and everything?
Yeah.
So the fact that he even had a modeling aspect to his gimmick makes it fit even more with Breeze.
Absolutely. And what I love about this too is that Ciampa was taking it to Breeze so much, Breeze really had to up the aggression towards the end, and I like that because
the whole match turned around when Ciampa went out of his comfort zone because he goes up to the top rope, and I mean at first I'm thinking Breeze is going to superplex him off the top rope or something like that, but he fights Breeze away, but then he goes for I'm guessing it was just like a flying sledge or something like that. But Breeze drop kicks him coming off the top rope, and that really was the turning point in the match.
Yeah. But what I like about this is that, like, to some people, it may look like Breeze really dominated the end, and don't get me wrong, like, he really punctuated, and I'll get to how he did in a second, because I thought that was interesting. But to me, it was almost like Ciampa broke him, because he really pushed him, I think, to further limits than he expected to, and he started getting frustrated. That's why I really like the stomping sequence, because it's not the idea that Breeze is just upping the aggression by itself. To me, that says Ciampa got in his head, because he showed him up. And I really like that. And Breeze is a petulant character. He doesn't like being shown up. He's very egoistic. And Ciampa bruised that ego. So I really appreciated that. But then
ego is not the only thing Ciampa bruised in this match.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Breeze wins this match with the unprettier.
Oh, I love it so much. Can I just say, if NXT had a mid-card title, I feel like Tyler Breeze would be like a 4-time champion of that championship.
Dude, I'm telling you, and I mean this is kind of like one of those backhanded compliments, like it's good, but it's whatever. Like I feel like Breeze would monopolize that division.
He would be the Shinsuke Nakamura of that title.
Yeah, without question, because honestly to me, he's not going anywhere. I don't even know when he'll go to the main roster, if ever, and I guess that's why I take some comfort in Triple H looking at NXT as its own brand.
Yeah.
Because Breeze better get comfy contributing to that brand, because I think he's stuck here, personally. Like,
I don't know. I mean, you've got to think that once Hideo comes back and hopefully wins the title from a heel Balor, Breeze would logically be a person to feud with Hideo.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'd be into it, but it's like, it's just, and again, this is an amazing match tonight, and I'm glad we had it, but I think people that are big Tyler Breeze fans, and there was a time, like, I was really into Tyler Breeze, like, I was ready for him to be NXT champion. This is what you should be getting used to. This guy putting on quality matches, getting with everyone, but always doing, you know.
It's amazing. He literally is Dolph Ziggler of NXT. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah, but and see, just like Dolph Ziggler, though, never really expect him to be the focal point of anything, just kind of the feeder for something else.
And like he's always going to do his job incredibly well.
Right, because to me, and I don't mean this to break anybody's spirits or anything, because believe me, it's a tough shard of glass for me to swallow too. Breeze will never be NXT champion.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, John.
I'm thinking Ashton, the ship has sailed, because with all the talent we're getting, seemingly like every month, every couple months, it just seems like.
What are we going to do? What's going to happen middle of next year when Hideo loses the championship? I'm guessing to someone like a Baron Corbin, and Joe, Balor, and Itami are all on the main roster. What happens with the NXT title then? Probably Cruz, right?
Probably Cruz.
Then we get Cruz and Breeze as our main eventers in NXT, unless somebody else shows up.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to bring in Adam Cole, which, I mean, we wouldn't complain about that anyway.
No, first of all, no, we would not. And, Brock Vaughn interacting with Tyler Breeze or anybody that we're really big fans of would make the universe implode. I mean, let's be honest here. But staying serious and focusing on the subject at hand, I don't know, dude. I mean, again, maybe Breeze will one day be NXT champion, but I think what I'm really trying to communicate is this fate isn't so bad, and I've developed a complacency for it, because if I can expect him to have clinics like this, maybe that's not such a bad thing, because, I mean, everybody and their mother's been complaining about Raw lately. I mean, let's be honest, even the ratings are reflective of that. Yeah. What would Breeze even be doing on that show anyway? Jerking the curtain, getting somebody their bagel? I mean, I'd rather he be doing things like this with Ciampa, even if he'll never be an NXT champion, than go on Raw and be a nothing, period.
That's my thing, though, John. Right there, what you just said, I feel like Breeze is tailor-made for NXT. I feel like he is more likely to win the NXT championship before he retires or leaves WWE or whatever than he is to get called up to the main roster.
Right.
Because I feel like he's been in NXT for so long, and I don't think he's ever really going to be more popular than he has been in the past or even now. So to me, I don't know if Raw, if the main roster really has a Tyler Breeze-sized opening.
And see, that's just it. And I feel like we've been talking about this a little more lately, because I feel like other people are talking about this more lately. I still haven't forgotten about that one review I read on AV Club where they just seemed like this just seems to be Tyler Breeze's future, just doing this. But I think the answer isn't to so much bemoan it, but to just kind of embrace it, but realistically. Like, I love that he has matches like this, dude. You're never going to see Tyler Breeze. The only time you'd see Tyler Breeze have a match like this on a Raw would be if he answered John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge.
Yes!
And that's it.
Oh my god, dude. Breeze answering the U.S. Open Challenge would be so good.
I agree, but it would be ephemeral, because the moment that match ended, you kind of shrug your shoulders and go, well, now what does a guy like Breeze do in a scheme like Monday Night Raw? Whereas, if say hypothetically he lost to Ciampa tonight, you wouldn't be too distressed about it, because then you're thinking, well, Breeze can still work with Cruz, and Breeze can still work with that guy, and he can still do this, and he can still do that. That's why I feel like even if this is Breeze's island, he can be pretty damn good on that island, and there are worse fates in life. So this is a great matchup. I didn't think we'd get that existential with it as far as Breeze's career goes, but yeah, just really great stuff. Breeze gets the win after the Unprettier. I don't know what he'll redub it, but I hope he uses it going forward, because I like that, and the beauty shot is his two go-to finishers. Good stuff. And the supermodel kick. So he's got a nice arsenal going on for him.
Tyler Breeze is like a really good backup quarterback in the NFL. Like, the fact that you're a backup quarterback means you're probably never really going to get the glory of winning a Super Bowl. And if you ever are on a team that wins a Super Bowl, it's probably not going to be because of you. But you're still going to have a job for a really long time, and you're going to make a lot of money in that meantime.
And let's be honest here, folks, at the end of the day, that's the foremost concern for anybody that does this for a living, is the job security and taking care of my family, or at the very least taking care of me. And if Breeze can be promised that working on NXT, I don't hear him bitching. So there you go.
Exactly. All right. So up next, we had a Baron Corbin Rhyno promo. And as far as they're concerned, they've already won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So there you go, John. Let's wrap it up. It's over. They won.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the promo I was referencing when I said earlier that Balor and Joe's worst enemies are themselves, because Baron Corbin and Rhyno pretty much say the same thing. The only people that can stop us is us.
Right.
And so, I mean, there you go. They're that confident. They're like, we're our own worst enemy. So let's see if they can keep it in check for TakeOver.
And then we get our main event video package, which is a strange thing to say, but we get a big video package just highlighting the entire Sasha Banks Bayley feud, their match at Brooklyn, and their training regimen to prepare for the 30-minute Iron Woman match that we're about to get.
One thing that's always been said, and I know, I know I've done it, I think you've done it a few times, everybody does it, but we always have to remember that NXT is an extension of WWE, and I've always said that if WWE does one thing consistently well, it is making video packages. I mean, the way that they can tell a story through video and through effects is second to none. It was no different here. I loved it. I loved the music. I love the shift in tone from Bayley's celebration and then doing the edit where Sasha's like, that's great for everybody, meaning like Bayley's big moment and everything, except for me. And I love that. I love that cut. I love that editing job. That was great. And then you see the training regimen of both women and highlighting the Iron Man matches throughout history and knowing that they're making history. And it was amazing. And you know what's funny is that they've only had one face-to-face confrontation since TakeOver Brooklyn, and just the hype has kind of done the rest. But this video package, I feel like, carried us to the finish line, because now we just have to wait till next week. And I feel like they've done such a great job. And there's this allure to this match, like how are they going to approach it? How is Sasha going to be? Because, she said, well, Bayley earned my respect that night. Like, is she going to be more aggressive? Is she going to be whatever? How's Bayley going to be? And just so many freaking questions, like, about this match. But, yeah, this video package was just fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. I have very mixed feelings about this whole thing, about this 30-minute Iron Man match and everything. I might just be kind of acting ignorant right now, but I feel like they've relied exclusively on the work that Bayley and Sasha have already done to build up to this match, because they haven't really added any kind of incentive for it. They haven't added anything to the story. It's just Sasha wants to prove that Brooklyn was a fluke.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is a story, Ashton, that I don't necessarily want to call it lazy, because I think that's too caustic.
Simple.
But yeah, simple is a much better word, because I think in their minds they felt like they already laid the groundwork at TakeOver Brooklyn to provide the sustenance for this story, to be able to fuel this story on its own merits.
Yeah.
I disagree to a point.
Yeah.
But I feel like with trying to ride the coattails of that material, they've done a pretty fine job of it. I like the encounter between Sasha and Bayley when they were talking about what that match meant to them. And then again, this video package was masterful. But I really think I would have appreciated, not a contract signing, because everybody does a contract signing, but maybe one last face-to-face where Sasha and Bayley just air everything that's on their minds and, like, the history that's before them and things like that. But we didn't get that, and that's fine, because I know these women are going to tear the house down next week. So there you go.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I'm looking forward to the 30-minute Iron Woman match, but I'm scared that it's not going to live up to everybody's expectations.
And see, like, I usually experience that fear with a lot of NXT Women's Championship matches, and I'm probably going to experience it again here.
But you know what, though, John? I mean, I understand that you've felt it before, but this is the first time that I've felt it. Because every single time, I would say, and you know what? Here's the thing. I figured that Emma and Paige, that way exceeded my expectations, because I didn't know what to expect for that. I figured Charlotte and Natalya would be decent. It exceeded my expectations again. I kind of figured Charlotte and Bayley would be a little bit of a step down from Charlotte and Natalya, and it was. And then the four-way between, I'm skipping Charlotte Sasha. I knew that would be amazing, and it lived up to the expectations completely. The four-way exceeded expectations, and then Sasha Becky even, I would say, exceeded expectations. This is the first time that I really feel like since Bayley Charlotte, which I thought would be a little bit of a letdown compared to Charlotte Natalya, and it was. And this is the first time since that match that I felt like maybe people are setting their expectations too high.
And that could be. And in a way, I think it's a positive consequence, and it just shows the impact these women have had, that that fans even have expectations at all,
right,
let alone them being high. But it is kind of the price you pay.
Yeah.
That said, I think if I'm concerned about anything, and I'm hoping people can follow me here, because I know I'm not always the best at phrasing how I feel like they're trying to force the magic of Brooklyn to happen again.
Yes.
Like, I feel like Brooklyn was such an organic thing, and it was the culmination of, I think, like a movement just to bring credibility back to women's wrestling, and, NXT was the hotbed of that. And now I feel like with the Divas Revolution on the main roster, and Revolution becoming a buzzword that's been stripped of any and all meaning. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's just how I feel.
It's true, though. It is true. We've talked about it so much on this channel. I mean, people that are just tuning in, I will go ahead and agree with John. Sorry if it sounded too harsh, but go ahead back and listen to everything that we've had to say about the Divas Revolution and you'll understand the place that we're coming from.
And I feel like, and you know, another thing too, and I was kind of feeling this way watching the episode tonight, and this is going to make me sound so horrible. Forgive me, everybody, but it's just me being honest. I feel like the idea that they're main eventing this show is diminished a little bit when you know your NXT champion isn't even defending his belt and he's part of the tag team tournament.
Yes! Oh my God, I so agree with you on that as well.
Like, we can all celebrate and pop bottles when they're main eventing a show when the NXT championship precedes them.
Again, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to apologize if this comes off as harsh or overly cynical. But to me, the fact that the NXT World Heavyweight Championship isn't being defended on this show almost diminishes the prestige of the show itself. Makes it seem like it's a B show. Like, if there would be such thing as a B-level NXT Live special, this is it, because the world title isn't even being defended.
I feel like this is an NXT house show that we're all privy to seeing. Almost.
Yeah, it feels like that, though, doesn't it?
It does, and that's not to disrespect the workers or this card, because I'm amped for it.
Apparently I can't English right now, but I feel like you're getting frustrated knowing that there are some people that are going to respond to what we're saying negatively, and I feel the exact same way as you, because we aren't trying to say that the women are lesser, or that the women are inferior, or that the women are less important than the men, but at the end of the day, the most prestigious title in NXT right now is the world title. The NXT women's title is definitely up there. I'm not trying to say it isn't, but when you don't even have the world title being defended, saying, oh, the NXT women's title is main eventing isn't even that big of a deal, because it's the natural result of the world title not being on the show.
That's the perfect articulate. That's what I've been trying to articulate, Ashton. Thank you. I feel like the battle isn't over yet. I feel like we can come up here and celebrate a genuine movement, not a marketing ploy, but the movement that happened in NXT when the NXT championship, let's just spit a hypothetical and say Balor Joe, goes on before an NXT women's championship match. That's how you show you have confidence in your women, not when they win by default. And I know saying it that way probably sounds so awful to the ear, but that's what they've done here, because vaudevillains are out of the tournament. They got eliminated, so it's not like NXT tag team titles, and they're not even that prestigious anyway in that regard. Right. And then you've got your champion in this tournament. So NXT women's title wins by default, and it shouldn't have to win by default because these women are amazing.
Bayley, you know what it kind of reminds me of, John?
What's that?
TLC 2011. Do you remember that show?
Vaguely. Yeah, like bits and pieces of TLC 2011.
Okay. That was the show where, going into it, your champions were Dolph Ziggler, Air Boom, Beth Phoenix, Mark Henry, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk, right?
Right.
And coming out of the show, your champions were Zack Ryder, Air Boom, Beth Phoenix, Daniel Bryan, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. And because Ryder and Bryan won, the next night on Raw, Punk came out and he did the big introduction like, hey, everybody, guess who won this match? And they showed the pictures on the screen, and it was like, Zack Ryder or Dolph Ziggler? It was Zack Ryder! And they brought Ryder down, and then it was basically Ryder, Bryan, and Punk all posing in the ring together. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember it now, yeah.
Okay, that was the only pay-per-view during CM Punk's 434-day title reign that he main evented where it wasn't main eventing with John Cena, Ryback, or The Rock, one of the WWE's chosen guys, right?
Right.
Cena wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
what this feels like. The NXT World Heavyweight Championship is John Cena. CM Punk, being the WWE champion at the time, is the equivalent to the Divas Championship. And it feels like the Divas Championship, in this scenario, CM Punk, is only main eventing because of the lack of the World Championship, Cena in this case.
Exactly. And as far as the match itself, I know these women love a challenge when you hear the interviews of them speaking how much they love wrestling, so they are probably thinking about crazy things that they can do, you know, how they want to pace this match, everything else. I trust these women. I just don't really trust the marketing around them for this match and everything else. I feel like you're sort of tampering with an authenticity that made it beautiful enough on its own.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make it seem like, oh, guys, look at it. It's like you've got this big flashing neon sign that says, look at us being revolutionary. Look at us doing this. Show, not tell. I don't need you to tell me. Just let these women do their thing. Do it naturally. And stop patting yourself on the back for doing something that should already be done based on the merits of their talent.
You know what I compare this to, John?
What's that?
Or I guess it's more of an example. Wrestle Kingdom 8. It was 2014's wrestling, the January 4th show in Tokyo, in the Tokyo Dome. The main event, and Wrestle Kingdom, for those of you that don't follow New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom is their WrestleMania. And it's not like that sort of generic, like, oh, Bound for Glory is TNA's WrestleMania. No, it is legitimately their biggest show of the year. It's a 4-hour show. All of their biggest storylines blow off at Wrestle Kingdom. It is legitimately their WrestleMania. And the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 8 was Tanahashi versus Nakamura in an Intercontinental Championship match. The match that went on before that was Okada versus Naito in an IWGP Heavyweight Championship match. That is how you establish a secondary title.
Right. And you know, that's just it, you know, because the world title was on the line, but it took a back seat to the Intercontinental Championship. That's how you show people. How are you showing people when Balor isn't even defending the belt, you know, next week at TakeOver Respect? You know, you don't, and that's just the answer. And that's nothing against these women again. But I feel like we're not the ones.
You know what it feels
cheating.
like, John? It feels like a consolation prize. Like, oh, hey, girls, you're main eventing. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so we're going on after Finn defends the title? Well, no, see, that's kind of the thing. Finn isn't actually defending the title, so we figured we need a main event. We might as well just put you guys there. Oh, well, that kind of makes me feel like shit now.
And see, like, I feel like a dick because I think that these women are genuinely happy about their spot in the card, and I don't want to take anything away from them. It's just, if anything, I want more for them, and I know you do too.
I think my thing is, I just don't want this to be the only time the women main event, and I want that the next time that happens, for the world title to be getting defended as well as the women's title.
Yeah, I want us to return to this conversation the day that comes, but it hasn't come today.
Yeah, and I think that's my thing too, is that I don't want for this to be like a one-time only. Guys, man, how great is it to be able to look back and remember that one time that women's match main evented a live special? No, I want this to be not a flash in the pan. I want it to be a trendsetter. I want this to be the first of many.
I can't even add anything to that. That was perfectly said. Let's get on to our next segment. You didn't have anything you want to say about the hype, though, right? The video package or anything?
No, dude, you were going.
All right. High spots and low shots. I'm going to say that my low shot is, let me see, Johnny Gargano. I'm going to say Gargano.
Oh, you took mine.
Yeah, he lost to Apollo Cruz. He had his first singles match. You know, one-on-one, didn't have to rely on Champa or worry about anybody else. And, yeah, he came up short, so Johnny Gargano is my low shot.
You know, I know that this is kind of a strange thing for me to do because we don't usually take what we don't see on television into account, but I'm making an exception here. I'm making my low shot Enzo Amore because from what I understand, this match, the Enzo and Cass versus Balor and Joe match, was very heavily edited. I'm being told, or not I'm being told specifically, but someone on Reddit on the NXT thread, and it's a legit account because it's somebody that posts a lot of pictures from NXT shows, and they always post pictures of their son taking pictures with the superstars. It's a little kid named Mason. He's kind of a little bit of like an internet celebrity on the Squared Circle subreddit. Apparently Joe and Balor beat the living hell out of Enzo Amore in this match for like 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, like really hardcore heel tendencies from Balor and Joe, and Enzo just ate all of it. And I'm not even joking when I tell you that this person said that her son Mason straight up stopped wearing his Finn Balor shirt after this. He hasn't worn it since that taping. Because of how much of a horrible person Balor was to Enzo in this match. So, Enzo Amore is my low shot based exclusively on the fact that when this actual show happened, he got the absolute trash beaten out of him, and it didn't even make the air, so it was all for naught.
You know what? I'm going to have a bit of fun with my high spot, because it seemed like you had a little bit of fun with your low shot, kind of went out of bounds a little bit there, did something different. I'm going to do something different too. My high spot is Asuka. Because she is showing everybody that she is going to
She has
dominate.
gotten more credibility over an 8-day period in NXT than Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha have gotten in 2 months on the main roster.
I know, right? How crazy is that to think about? I am loving this booking of Asuka. And again, I got to give a shout out to our boy Anthony. I know he's a huge Asuka fan. I hope he's enjoying this as much as I am, and I got to give credit to the heels too. And yes, that does include Dana Brooke. And yes, if you guys are wondering, I'm probably going to suffer stomach ulcers every time I give her credit. Her facial expressions and her ability to emote fear and intimidation have been spot on. I enjoyed that segment where she was watching the footage and they're thinking, oh, that's not so bad. Okay, you can stop now. That bag represents me. To just nothing at all. Just silence. I love it. And I think Asuka is a great asset. And then you figure Nia Jax is on the heels of this division. But I don't think anything's going to stop Asuka. And you know what, dude? Honestly, with her trajectory of her booking, because I know you were just talking about the credibility, I guarantee you it won't be that long before she confronts Bayley or whoever the NXT Women's Champion is in a ring and being a contender, and that match is going to be phenomenal. So, yeah, Asuka's my high spot.
I can dig that. I feel like she's gotten such a great build so far. I cannot wait for the match. I just want to see her dominate Dana Brooke. It's going to be so entertaining.
I know, dude. I'm going to enjoy it far more than I should. But, all right, who's your high spot?
Another kind of out of left field one. My high spot's Tommaso Ciampa. I know he lost, but he looked so good in this match, and I feel like if his sort of status in NXT, as far as whether he was going to be signed or not, was up in the air, this swayed them to keep him around because he was so good in this match.
Dude, let me tell you something, and it's so funny you said this, and once again, our ESPN comes to the forefront, because I felt bad about taking Gargano from you. I was thinking about making Tommaso Ciampa an honorary high spot. Nice. So you and I had similar thoughts, but I didn't want to deprive you of your original high spot, and I figured you would go with Ciampa because, dude, he shined tonight. This is one of those matches where I don't even really give a damn that you lost. You look just as good, if not better, than the guy who won the thing. And that was the case here. I think Ciampa, I would even be interested, I don't know, maybe they would do a story, maybe Ciampa has better success than Gargano. I don't know if they want to keep him as a team, if they want to see those two feud, what the game plan is, but I still want to see both of them.
You know, it's so funny. We've seen Ciampa and Gargano. They opened up Mystery Vortex 3 this year, and I don't really want to see that match again in NXT because I feel like it was one of the least insane matches on that show, one of the least sort of suck you in and make you watch every moment of it kind of matches on that card. And then you bring it to NXT and it might be a little bit better just from a relative perspective, but I don't think that that's necessarily something I need to see in NXT.
I could agree with that, but regardless, I feel like Ciampa did really good here, and I'm just glad that he was your high spot. With that said, is there anything else you want to say about tonight's NXT?
I think I'm good. I really enjoyed tonight's show, and obviously we had a lot to say about it because we went for about 50 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. So, guys, with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Let's have a little bit of fun this week. What do you think about our whole discussion of Tyler Breeze? I would love comments on that. Do you think NXT is kind of Breeze's island? Do you think he'll get promoted to the main roster? How would he get promoted to the main roster? Will he be NXT champion? Pretty much all the points that we touched on. Anybody that wants to offer a rebuttal, a reaffirmation, talk to us down there. Yeah. Asuka.
Now, hang on a second, John. I want to throw this out there, guys. I want everybody that's listening to this right now to let me know, what do you think is more likely to happen? Breeze gets promoted to the main roster without winning the NXT title, or Breeze wins the NXT title without getting promoted to the main roster?
That's a nice way to package it, Ashton. Do what the man says, people. I'd love to have a discourse. Asuka.
Or alternatively, I guess the alternatives are, if you want to be really negative, Breeze never makes it to the main roster and gets released before he wins the NXT title. Or if you want to be really positive, he wins the NXT title and gets promoted to the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, what are you guys feeling about Tyler Breeze? But again, Asuka, how are we all feeling about her? How excited are we about her? What do you think of her build? How soon do you think it'll be before she climbs in the ring with the NXT Women's Champion? And finally, who do you think? Actually, two-part question. What is going to make up the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic? And who is going to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic? So, guys, come at me with all that. Be sure to take the conversation over to Tweetoff, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook. A lot of passionate NXT fans there. But I get it. If you don't like your phone or your computer going off nonstop with notifications and you want a quieter scene, Ashton's created a TWitWoW subreddit. There you will find all of our TWitWoW content. And you have the ability to create your own threads related to pro wrestling, talking to either Ashton or myself about any subject on your mind. And we will see you again for our ROH review. And, praise be to Adam Cole. And until then, tune in and peace out.